Well, yeah, because there's just so many of them.
Yeah, yeah. Like silver dollars is a great example. Like the GSA Hoard in Carson Cities. Before the GSA Hoard came out, pretty much all Carson cities were scarce and very expensive coins. And then the GSA Hoard comes out with some 4 million coins, and certain dates that used to be really rare are now really common and attainable. But there were other dates that they didn't find any of, or very, very few of, like 1879. They did not find very many 79 Carson cities in the GSA Hoard. I think it was around 3,000 coins out of 4 million. So that's why the 1879 Carson City and uncirculated is still a really rare coin.
And there's another one that comes to mind when you mention Morgan's and the GSA hoard with me is 19030.
Yep.
Morgan dollar was a in XF or better was a $100 coin in the 1950s,
Mm-hmm.
and then they found a couple of bags of them.
They found, yeah.
There's a couple of thousand of them, and they distributed them, and now finding one in uncirculated condition is really not even that difficult.
Yeah. I bought and sold rolls of them.
As a matter of fact, I would say that finding circulated ones is a much more difficult
And there's
chore.
certain dates, other dates too, like that, like 1880s, 1881s. Morgans are coins that you can find them circulated much, or you can find them uncirculated much easier than you can find them circulated. And that's,
You know,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, you know what I think of every time I hear 1880s Morgan?
What's that?
Deep mirror proof like.
That's the way they come.
All of them.
That's all of them, and that's it though. But the Randall Hoard was a little bit different. And I know I kind of said, "Hey, Mike, why don't you dig on the history of it, and I'll talk about the coins themselves." So I'll let you kind of get into whatever research you did about the history.
Yeah, man, it was my job to do some of the research on the history of the Randall Hoard, and having really known nothing about it coming into it, I have to say that I found it not only
Hmm.
interesting, but it was kind of difficult to find information on.
Well, and there is a lot of information and misinformation, and um, a lot of mystery behind where these coins actually came from.
Yeah, so I went to your basic standbys. I went to the archives of Coin World, where I came across a basic story about it, which talks about the hoard. And the hoard was thousands of uncirculated large cents, mostly dated between 1818 and 1820. Some dated 1816 and 17 and 19, but mostly dated 1818 and 1820. There were even some. There was even some talk that there was some dated 1825, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was.
That's right.
Um, but the coins themselves were allegedly discovered underneath a railway platform, where they then came into the possession of several different people before finally settling in the possession of a dealer from New York named J. Swan Randall.
Mm-hmm.
And J. Swan Randall found it to be his mission to um, to distribute the coins. Now, something that's kind of interesting about this is there are a couple of different ways that you can look at this hoard. One is that it was discovered in 1869, and large cents were no longer considered legal tender in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1850s, right about 1857, 1858, when they started releasing the new small size cents, they had a recall for all the half cents and large cents, and people could come and they could turn them in, and then they could exchange them for what would be the new lawful money.
Most people did do that, but
And most people did that. But
well, most people didn't do that.
well, there were a lot of people that did, and there were apparently a lot of people that didn't. But here's where I think it gets kind of funny is in the this is the 1860s when this hoard surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of people who questioned whether or not the coins were restrikes or whether they were original strikes because of their condition and their age. But here's another thought that kind of crossed my mind as I was researching this,
Mm-hmm.
is that it is possible that the coins could have been previously redeemed coins.
Well, the reason that I kind of doubt that is because from my research into the hoard themselves, almost every one of these coins was uncirculated. brand new, uncirculated coins.
And even if redeemed at the time of the Great Redemption
Mm-hmm.
of, large sense, these coins would still be 40 years old.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you would think that they had been would be circulated. So finding so many, nice choice uncirculated examples of these particular coins makes me lean that there's something else going on.
Well, it's very possible that there's, and that's where my mind kind of wandered as to, well, what else could be going on? Could it be that they were previously redeemed, that this guy came about them? Because anytime there's a story where it's like, okay, it came from a friend of a friend of a friend,
Yeah. Well,
there's usually something going on.
and I'm going to read you a little part of this letter that I found from um, J. Randall in a letter to another coin dealer. He wrote, "I bought the coins of from William H. Chapman and Company, dry goods merchants, and he informed me that he got them from a wholesale merchant in New York, who informed him that he got them from a merchant in Georgia, who took them as payment on a debt, and that the Georgia merchant wrote him that they were found after the Civil War in Georgia, buried in the earth." So there's, 4 or 5 hands have gone through these coins before they even get to Mr. Randall.
Yeah, except to look at these coins and their condition. The suggestion that they were found in the earth makes no sense
Yeah.
whatsoever because of the high quality surfaces.
Well, and also it was told that these particular coins were found sealed in kegs. So like powder kegs. If you think about the old cartoons where they
Which
have
is a small keg. It's
yeah
not a.
yeah. So they have the powder that they pour out of the keg, and those little smaller kegs. This is where they say they found them. So I mean, depending on how they were put in the ground, it's possible, but
Sealed in rum.
not real likely.
No. So the fact that these coins show not only no pitting, no marking of that type, but most of them are showing a lot of really nice red color.
Yeah, and that's what you can almost look at these particular coins and say, "Yep, that's a Randall Hoard coin." Because one of the cool diagnostics of some of these particular dates is the die pairs that they use to make certain dates. 1818 is a really good example of this. They have what's called radial die cracks, which are die cracks that go around and connect all the stars. So Randall, the coins that were in the Randall Hoard just happened to be struck with this particular kind of die that was, deteriorated to the point where it had these massive cracks all the way around it. So you can actually trace those particular coins to the Randall Hoard. Now they don't really know what the entire makeup of the Hoard was. There is some dispute to whether coins from 1816 were included. And they estimate that the size of the hoard was roughly 5,000 pieces. Now, there are 2 dates they can really say, these coins were in that hoard, and that's 1818 and 1820. Everybody seems to agree that those 2 dates were definitely in the Randall hoard. So the other way to look at this, though, to prove or disprove, what dates are in there, is to look at populations today. And luckily, the grading companies do keep that information. So because these coins were all really nice, you would expect a lot of examples to be certified if there were, a large amount of them found. So in 1822, mint state coins for both NGC and PCGS total 14 at NGC and 13 at PCGS in any grade. Now the 1825 shows a total of 27 coins at PCGS and 14 coins at NGC. Now, by comparison, some of the dates that we know to be in the Randall Hoard, such as the 1818, shows 296 pieces at PCGS and 288 pieces at NGC. And the 1820 shows a total of 267 pieces at PCGS and 391 pieces at NGC. So definitely you can rule in the 1820 and the 1818, just because of the amount of mint state coins that are still around today.
There's a huge explosion in the population of those coins.
Yes, and that's how kind of the people that research this hoard, can kind of debate the fact that these particular coins came out of the Hoard.
Well, you know how you were mentioning the die crack that goes
Mm-hmm.
around the radial die crack that goes around the
Mm-hmm.
stars. I think that that also feeds into the at least plausibility of them being restrikes, that they were struck from aging dies. But when you think back to coins from the 1820s, 18 teens,
Mm-hmm.
these were all coins that were struck on
Oh yeah,
aging.
they
You
used
know,
those dies until they killed them. They broke
yeah.
them.
I mean, they just did everything they could with those dies and made as many coins as they possibly could.
Yeah. Um, so earlier on you asked me about my thoughts of Hoard coins, and the cool thing about Hoard coins, at least in my experience, is if it was not for this particular Hoard, finding a mint state, earlier date large cent would be a pricey endeavor. You're talking $700, $1,000 or more. And the fact is, you can buy a Randall Hoard coin for $300, $400. So it's and buy a nice one. And so that kind of shows, at least me, that the Hoards, um, I find that the Hoards are a positive thing for our hobby.
See, and I think that cents that are 200 years old
Mm-hmm.
and still have great detail and great color and are all original like that can be nothing but good for our hobby.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous
They're
too.
they're if they hurt an investor or two along the way, I'm kind of okay with that. I look at that as casualty of war
But
because of the game that they play.
know what you're buying.
Yes, but from a collector's viewpoint, definitely a good thing. Hordes hordes help bring more stuff to more people. So
Yeah, stuff
hordes
you normally
hordes
wouldn't be able to
good.
get. Hoard's good, Mike. Like
Yes, Mike like hug.
in a nutshell, that's the Randall Hoard.
Well, waking up, I'm so damn cold.
So let's see. Do we have pictures to look at?
No,
This is what I get, folks.
well, the problem is the coolest thing didn't walk in until today. So
Oh, so we have fresh story.
fresh, neat, fresh, neat.
This is fresh scat.
I don't know about that. I don't like to refer to my coins as that, but
Well, I wasn't talking about the coins as much as the story.
the story, the dish. Um, yeah, this, it's been this kind of time of year. We're really busy, mostly selling stuff, so we don't get a ton of stuff bought. But today, actually, a really cool coin came in. Um, it is, and it's going to sound kind of mundane at first, but if you think about it, it's kind of rare. It is a 1921 Morgan silver dollar, and it exhibits a very rare and special kind of error that I have never actually really encountered in person. This particular error is known as a dropped digit, or in the case of this particular coin, dropped design element. Now, I know I'm probably talking over a lot of people's heads. Um,
Well, you're definitely talking another language.
Yeah. So what happens when coins are struck? These giant, big presses that strike the coins have a lot of, oil and just gunk floating around in them, and sometimes this stuff ends up in the coining chamber, and it also ends up getting smashed into the die itself. If you've ever seen coins that have any kind of filling to some of the digits or the design, or just a general weakness. Sometimes this is caused by being filled with debris, is what they call it.
You see it a lot in statehood quarters
Yeah,
where there are really small inscriptions. A lot of times letters will be missing
yeah,
or
exactly.
things like that. They're just filled up.
And they're filled up with gunk. That's what it's so compacted in there that the design doesn't transfer. Um, but occasionally, and very, very rarely, this gunked up part of the die, the gunk actually